And I'm recording this Hangout on Air for my Co.Starters group at Brescia University here in Owensboro, Kentucky. Next Thursday night, November 13th, 2014, that group of people who's been together for 9 weeks is going to participate in a pitch night. And one of the things I thought I'd do today is show the power of Google Hangouts on Air by giving them a short presentation that they'll be able to view later on YouTube in order to prepare for their pitch night. So with that being said, I'm going to start the screen share option here on Hangouts on Air and get to a PowerPoint presentation that's going to give the cohort some tips on making an effective presentation and pitch. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about Co.Starters. And Co.Starters is a process designed to turn your business idea into action. To date, over 700 people have graduated from this program. And I can tell you from going through the facilitators training and getting to spend 7 weeks so far with this great group of folks, it's certainly an eye-opening and wonderful process. So the program lasts about 9 weeks, and it convenes one evening a week for 3 hours. That may seem like a long time to you, but the 3 hours goes by really quick. Facilitators are experienced entrepreneurs who are connected in the business community. We have guest speakers who share the challenges they faced when starting and growing their businesses, and then business professionals offer their support to the program participants as mentors. And that's a really cool part of this program because, as you will see, the audience not involved in Co.Starters that's watching this, when one of the participants hits a little bit of a snag, they have this ready reference library of seasoned business professionals that'll kind of sit down and talk with them, mentor them, and help them over the humps. Throughout this business model discovery process, these participants will identify and test business assumptions through their customer interactions. They develop a functioning business model through a Canvas application, learn valuable management and marketing skills, and receive constructive feedback from advisors, peers, and even former grads of Co.Start. At the end, they have the tools and framework, and most importantly, the momentum and enthusiasm they need to make their vision a reality. And the best part is that they're not in this alone. So that's Co.Starters for you. And I'm going to begin the presentation, and this is directed at my wonderful group that I facilitate every Thursday night. When we met last week, all of a sudden you're staring that deadline in the face, and you start thinking, how am I going to do this? So I decided to put this presentation together. First of all, we're not going to be here for 2 hours, thank goodness, because I don't think I could even listen to me for 2 hours. But I'm going to tell you, you will need a pen and some paper. Jot down some notes to help you prepare so that your 12 to 15 minute presentation goes well and smooth. So if you're ready, and the neat thing about watching this on the replay in YouTube is I can just go on with the presentation and you can hit pause while you get your pencil or paper or your tablet or set your computer up or do whatever it is you want to do. Are you ready? I am. Tip number 1, introduce yourself. There's nothing that grabs a group of people more quickly than you relating to them on a personal level to begin with. Really neat thing about this class, for those of you not familiar with Co.Starters, is I have people in there from college age to almost approaching retirement age and everything in between. Each one of these people has a unique, passionate business idea, and I can see it come through their personalities. So presenters, when you begin, say hi and tell us who you are. Okay, you remember the dreaded elevator pitch, guys, right? You remember we worked on that 2 weeks in a row? I'll be honest with you. I've been doing this elevator pitch for 15 years. And sometimes when I've got to get up and do it, I get dryness in the back of my throat. My skin gets a little clammy, and oh my gosh, I only got 60 seconds to tell you what it is I do and why I want to do it. Well, your elevator pitch is going to open the door for you for people to want to know more. Practice, practice, practice. My dogs, Mallory and Rocky, are two of the most knowledgeable business creatures in the galaxy. Anytime I get ready to do a presentation, host a Google Hangout on air, do a webinar, I practice and I practice and I practice. The good thing is my dogs never have any questions. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll be. So tip number one is introduce yourself personally and then introduce your business. Tip number two, what's your idea? What business is it that you want to start? What burns in your heart and is etched in your mind? And why? What motivated you to do this? When I think of some of the more successful business people I've coached and consulted with, one of the things that I've noticed is there's never any talk about money. There's always a talk about providing service or providing a product that'll improve the quality of somebody's life, or being able simply to create something and be successful in creating it. What's your idea? And I know that's kind of difficult, especially when you've strung it out over a 9-week period of time, but do not worry. For the Co.Starters, this is a familiar document. It's the Co.Starters canvas. And a canvas is something similar to a business model, only it's a little more of a 20,000-foot view. For those of you not in Co.Starters that may be watching this, I'm going to tell you that Co.Starters also is a process of discovery. And so the folks participating are finding out just exactly what it's going to take. So guys, when you get up there on the 13th of November, let's just do a real quick review. Again, write it down or type it down. Here's how I would do my presentation. First of all, talk about my customer. Who are they? Who's that person who's going to buy my product and service and make me a household name? Now, no matter if you're selling diet soft drinks, iPads, consulting, or coaching, your customer has a problem. And that may sound awful negative to you, but it really isn't. What your customer's looking for is a solution. One of the services I offer to people is to help them create hiring processes. And their problem is that they come to me and they say, John, I just spent so much time hiring people only to have to do it over again. The solution to my problem is if I could just hire some folks that would stick around and I could get back to running my business, can you help me? So many times your client, your customer is going to give you the problem and the solution. Your challenge is what you're offering, your product, and we'll get to your message in a moment, is going to fill that customer's needs. Now, part of your elevator pitch, see how this stuff is all starting to come together? Part of what you want to share here is, there's a benefit to working with me. And here's the advantage you're going to get that maybe your competition doesn't have. Now that door kind of swings both ways. And I know that's not the way the canvas was originally rolled out. But when you work with me, there's a benefit and advantage, right? If I buy your product or I buy your service, I have a benefit and an advantage, and I'm thinking, that's going to put me ahead of my competition. Now, as the provider, as the person marketing your product and service, what you're talking about is, hey, if you deal with me, here's where I'm head and shoulders above my competition. Just a real quick reminder. You can only offer three basic things in any business. You can offer quality, you can offer price, and you can offer service. But you can't offer all three at once, because if you do, you'll be broke in a big hurry. So what makes you stand out above your competition? Now, you've found your customer, they've got a problem, and you have the solution. And when you provide that solution, there's going to be a benefit and there's going to be an advantage. The door swings both ways on competition, my friends. It sets you head and shoulders above your competition. But when your customer buys it, you want to make it attractive enough that it sets them above their competition. Then you're the I word, invaluable. Now, you pull all this together, and what you have is your message. Message is a little longer than an elevator pitch, as an old friend of mine used to say. Your message is, here's what my business can do for you. Kind of takes those 6 things we just finished talking about, kind of rolls them all into one neat little package. Just stop and think of some of the things you've heard over the years. They've been referred to as jingles, as mission statements, value statements, vision statements. Just stop for a moment and think of some of those things you've heard and why those messages make you gravitate towards the product. What's your message? Well, so far we've been living in the wonderful world of group hugs. Okay. Now it's time for me to pour a large bucket of water over myself and everybody else, because there are going to be startup needs. And startup needs cost money. No way of getting around it, unless you have a tree in the backyard where you can go pick bills in whatever denomination you need that day. You're going to need some startup. And just to give you a little tip, in my experience, again, as a small business coach and consultant, this is the Achilles heel of most startup businesses. Oh, they've got all what I call the emotional stuff, the heart stuff. They've got it down pat. And most of them that I've dealt with, no doubt in my mind, I would do business for them. I mean, they'd go to the mat for me or any one of their other customers. But then we get down into startup needs. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to share a secret with you because you're watching this video. Something that you need to take into account. What are your obstacles? You know, it's kind of interesting. I'll sit on the other side of a conference room table or a desk or a Starbucks and be talking with a client or a potential client, and we'll get to the part about obstacles, and I hear anything from oh to why do you have to be so negative, John? Every business has obstacles. My business has obstacles. How do you overcome those obstacles? What things do you have to put into place to make sure that your startup goes correctly? Well, let's look at some stuff. Tip number 4 for you today. What are your business startup costs? I don't know. I know. Boy, I'll tell you, anytime I got to sit down with a financial person, I've got 2 of them in the family, Paul and Katie. Every time they start throwing those questions at me, it's kind of like, well, can't we talk about how wonderful I am? Nah, sorry. What are your startup costs going to be? But let's talk how you determine that. Because that's real nice you're throwing this stuff out, John, but can you help? Well, first of all, research. Thank you, Google, and any other search engine you might choose to use. Thank you. Because there is more information out there in 2014 than there ever was. The United States government provides us with reams and reams and reams. And shame on me and shame on you if we don't get that data to help fortify and substantiate what we want to do with our business. You know, there's a popular TV show on network TV. I believe it's every Friday night. It's called The Shark Tank. Okay. And people come in and pitch their business ideas, and they come in all happy and giddy and ready to go. And then the four business people who are looking to invest start asking, well, how do you know this is going to be a successful business or enterprise? And you can't say, because my mom said so, or my wife thinks I'm wonderful, or Rocky and Mallory, my two dogs, have done the business model. Research. Point two, who are your investors? I've seen people make the mistake. There's an old saying about shooting with a rifle instead of a shotgun. And when you shoot with a rifle, you're pinpointing a target. When you shoot with a shotgun, you're just scattering buckshot all over the wall. Who's your target investor? Who's going to be interested? Is it an angel? Somebody that's willing to put up money for a percentage of your business or a return? Is it a co-investor? Somebody that's going to share some of the business expenses with you? Is it a partner? You need to decide that before you move forward. And how much do you need? Here's something I learned from a very good friend of mine who handles crowdfunding. He had me sit on a panel with two people, a gentleman from Milan, Italy, and a gentleman from the Philippines, who were talking about what kind of money you need to start up parts of your business. And I was actually looking at introducing a product line of DVDs. And boy, I'll tell you, after a half hour with these guys, I will never say the words, well, I believe it's going to cost, or I think it's going to be around, because every time them words came out of my mouth, it was like somebody went, excuse me, John, you believe? You mean you don't know? You didn't do your research? Okay, you don't have to nail it down to the thousandth of a cent. But for example, if you say, well, it's going to cost between $0 and $1 million, I don't get the warm fuzzy about being your investor. But if you say, this part of my startup is going to cost between $1,000 and $2,250, depending on which option I choose. Option A is $1,000. Option B is $2,250. This is where the research comes in. I would like to go with option $2,250 because here's what it's going to do. Go back to the canvas and remember you're putting yourself up above your competition. Cool? Cool. And finally, there's your conclusion. And boy, there are as many different ideas and opinions on creating a conclusion as there are grains of sand on the ocean and stars in the sky. Some people talk about the soft sell, just kind of leave the information settle down, gently back away. Some people talk about leaving a fantastic memory imprinted on their minds. I don't think either one is wrong, but within there is something that's very intimate and a good secret for you guys in Co.Starters. What's you? What style of conclusion fits you best? That's what you need to do, and that's what you need to remember throughout the whole process. Because once you finish your presentation, you're going to be open for questions. Okay, let's recap. Your welcome and introduction, and it should take no more than 2 minutes. Just remember, a minute of that should be your elevator pitch. What's my business idea? Okay. Now I've got 5 minutes there. If it takes a little longer, yeah, but just remember, your business idea directly relates to your startup costs. If you want a group of people sitting there that are looking to make investments in your business, you need to have the idea crystal clear. Don't be afraid to share your obstacles. Everybody has them. And I always kind of get leery when somebody asks me to do a joint venture with them, maybe make an investment, get involved in a certain area where they tell me this is ironclad, it's bulletproof. Yeah, okay. And again, your startup costs shouldn't take any longer than 2 minutes. Well, what do you mean, John? Well, it's not a formal presentation where you're asking for money. But just remember, the longer you talk, people are going to remember the back end rather than the front end. So compress that into no more than 2 minutes. Finally, wrap it all up. Take your business idea, your obstacles, your startup costs, and end with a positive conclusion that's you, done in your style. So I hope this was helpful and beneficial to you guys. And there I am, smiling and grinning. Always like to put my logo up there. Lord knows I paid enough for it. And if you want to get hold of me, you can always shoot me an email at jerkowitzconsulting.com. There's a link on my webpage. And so that concludes the screen share portion. And I'm going to go back to the Hangout on Air now. And there we go. Well, listen, I hope you really enjoyed watching this. Guys and co-starters, you got my phone number, you got my email. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me. I'll see you this Thursday night and we can discuss the video. And I'm getting really excited about the 13th of November. So I hope you have a great day. And I hope you enjoyed this Hangout on Air. Take care now and bye-bye.